right, let's get started talking about 3D Experience, what it is, and how could it benefit your organization. If this is the first time you're hearing my voice, I hope you check out some of our other videos on YouTube. I've made plenty of them. I've been here at MLC for 9 years, so don't be a stranger. I work with Solidworks, all of its products, and I specialize in simulation and particularly 3D experience. Of course, everyone here on the technical team has a kind of similar background to me, and we're here to help you guys be successful and be efficient with these products. Not just to get them in your hands, but we provide the tech support for them, the training on them, whether that's a customized project or kind of a consulting project or one of our public classes. And even when we're talking about these more plug and play, cloud tools, we're here to help with those as well for implementation, for setup, and just ongoing success and support. So don't be a stranger. Our entire role is to help you guys be successful with these tools. So what tools are we talking about today? Is the 3D Experience tool set, which is huge. So I want to talk about what is 3D Experience, what is this technology leap, where are things going? There's a lot of different information out there. I hope to clarify that for you guys. And then how could it be useful to you? The first way I see is cloud storage or data management right out of the gate. So that's the big technology shift as well. I want to talk about that and even expand on how you can completely forget about file types and extensions, Windows Explorer, folders, really Windows altogether. I know that sounds crazy, but that's something you could do here. And the second most common tool is the apps that run natively in the cloud. For SOLIDWORKS users, people are going to be excited about CAD modeling in the cloud, but also communication and collaboration tools, data management tools. The one I want to show you today uses some CAD modeling techniques that you can't even do inside of SOLIDWORKS, so some extra functions there. And then, of course, high-end simulation being the third most popular reason I see to look at 3D Experience. Because Dassault Systems owns Abaqus, they've created programs now with a new interface that connect to SOLIDWORKS and give us this extremely high-end simulation capabilities. But let's start with the basics. What in the world is this 3D Experience we've been hearing so much about? And to put it simply, this is an online platform that connects all Dassault Systems software together. Now, Dassault Systems is a juggernaut of the software space. They own all sorts of stuff. They own SOLIDWORKS. They own CATIA. They own the brand Simulia, where all their different simulation products are, like Abaqus and otherwise. They own Exalead, the searching program. They own Anovia, the PDM program. But there's been a disconnect between all these worlds in the past. Like, can you imagine saving your file, your SOLIDWORKS files to a step file and sending it out to another program? That creates a disconnected workflow that can't update nicely. So we now have a platform that connects all this stuff together. Fundamentally, that means we get cloud storage for all data. Very easy to just put that stuff in the cloud. It's kind of all taken care of in the background. Now we don't have to worry about data translation at all anymore. We can just go from one software package to another, and our updates will flow through them as well. This also then provides us a web interface for accessing the data and even running some programs. You know, if you're just managing data, maybe you're just collaborating and chatting with your team, maybe you're running some programs like those cloud CAD modeling programs just in the web interface. So that has all the benefits of, being just anywhere you can access an internet browser. So this is really done with a big technology leap. It's behind the scenes. It feels really seamless, but that's what I want to point out to you guys because as SOLIDWORKS users, you're actually already used to running inside of a connected system. And the first real technology leap from SOLIDWORKS happened back in the mid-90s as we moved from 2D to 3D. Now, there's obviously still a big world of 2D out there. AutoCAD, DraftSight, there's DWGs and DXFs used every day. So it's not like it eliminated that. But we brought the intelligence of 3D in. So when my part needs a hole drilled in it, that hole shows up everywhere the part exists. Assemblies, drawings, they know it's lighter, they know it uses less material. I only had to put the hole in one place. I didn't have to open up several DWGs and make sure they're all up to date, right? Everything's connected. That was the fundamental jump. And then since then, the last 17 years or however long since then, the program has come to a full ecosystem of softwares for engineering and design. your electrical schematics to how long a wire is. Your marketing guys are rendering photos. Your simulation guys telling you if it's strong enough. If I put a new hole in my part, everybody's up to date. Those photos are re-rendered, those simulations are rerun. It's all one single source of data, or what they call single source of truth. But the downside is this takes more IT management now. It's a big, robust system, and it's hard to get started with this if you're just, starting up your company, or just might be more overhead and IT management than you need. But that's how the system has grown to support all these different areas of an engineering business and get them connected together. Well, the next step of this is really moving out of the limitations of the Windows operating system. The Windows operating system was the thing that made SolidWorks so awesome in the mid-90s, where we could drag and drop and Control C, Control V, and now we're going to go further than that with a cloud database system. Fundamentally now we're not going to have a folder root structure like Windows Explorer. You guys all know how great the Windows search function is because it's really limited by that root directory structure. We're now going to have objects in a database. And this provides really immediate searching. It provides tagging so that files are linked together by different pieces of information. It provides some really more interesting ways to do data management and revision control and branching. But you don't have to really know all of the ins and outs of that. It happens real seamless in the background. And actually, I'd say you probably already know a lot of it. You're probably familiar with these benefits already. The first thing just being the general cloud benefits. If you use Dropbox or OneDrive or Office 365, you're already getting these, right? You don't have to deal with an IT group for that stuff. You can access those files from anywhere you're at, from your phone, any device with an internet browser, right? Well, the second thing is that a lot of this databasing happens inside your mobile platforms already. You might see it. I think a great example is pictures on your phone. You take a picture with your phone, I don't know what file type that picture is. Maybe later if I export it and send it to somebody, but when I'm just inside my phone, I don't. And if somebody says, show me a picture of your dog, right? I could probably do that on my laptop or my desktop. I just got to browse in the different folders where I keep pictures and go find, maybe by the date I can remember. If I'm on my phone, I can literally type in dog and see all the pictures of dogs that are on my phone. And this is the benefit of having a cloud database, or a database at all. Instant searching and information that's tagged in so many different ways. When you took the photo, where you were at, even what's in the photo, who took it. We can search by all those things instantly. So you guys are already doing this. You're already, using a mixed cloud-enabled situation when you're at your computer and you're dealing with something like Dropbox or SharePoint, and you're already getting the advantages of cloud databases when you're using your mobile apps or phones. And today, a slick user of technology really has to be able to navigate both worlds, how to deal with database systems and search them quickly, and of course, how to know the traditional folder, Windows, root directory structures. So what in the world is 3DEXPERIENCE? I mean, it's basically just a tool that connects all your Dassault System software together and unshackles you with some of the limitations of Windows operating systems. So the first way that comes in is with cloud storage or cloud data management, an easy place to put your files, right? This is what's happening in the background, what I explained earlier, but it's seamless to store your files somewhere in the cloud and access it from anywhere. So I want to talk about just that, just data storage, what I'm going to call naked data storage. All right, it's not as much fun as that sounds. It just means storage without what we'll call a data management system, somewhere to put your files. Right? And the most two common places I would see is a network drive that you could share with your colleagues, or cloud storage drive like Dropbox or SharePoint, something like this. I'm going to have to talk a little bit about what happens inside of SolidWorks when you don't have a data management system that can really illuminate the problems of those basic systems. Who's ever seen this message, unable to locate a file? Or maybe you've seen it before and said, don't show again on it, and now you open things, and if it can't find the file, those files are just suppressed. Well, when you don't have a data management system, SolidWorks searches for files by their name. So when you open an assembly and it needs to find a file called bracket, it looks around your computer for something named bracket. You would think, oh, it wrote down where that bracket was last time, so it's going to look there. No, it actually looks in 8 other places first. It starts with RAM memory, then it goes like the last folder you were browsing in on your computer. So it's the fastest procedure for your computer to find a file, not the most logical to a human. So if you don't have a data management system, you definitely need unique file names You got two files with the same name around in the known universe, at some time it's going to find the wrong one or not find it at all, and your opening times are slowed down just by searching. Or to compound that, maybe somebody jumps on the share drive and they move a file or they rename a file, but they didn't let SolidWorks know about it. Next time you open your assembly or drawing, SolidWorks can't find that file. You got to go browse and locate it for them. Or worse than that, you're using Dropbox or OneDrive on two different computers. But those Dropbox and OneDrive, where they download and locally cache your files on one computer, is a different location than another computer. And now you get different results. You say, hey, on this computer, the assembly opens fine. On this other computer, it doesn't open fine because we have these different cache locations. So there's some drawbacks to these things. You know, the network share drive, the first thing is really performance, because you're always faster working on files that are stored locally on the drive in your machine. So when you're working across the network, you're going to have a little slowdown in opening and saving, and that might change to the day as different people access that network drive and change its bandwidth. It's going to require some level of IT, whether that's you or an actual IT group, you know, to conduct upgrades of your server machine and manually backup for sure. And it has write access problems. You know, if I open an assembly, my coworkers can't open up the parts from that assembly and work on them. It doesn't understand file references, so renaming and moving can be a problem, and there's no true data management here for security or revision control purposes. Now, if I move to the cloud, it solves a couple of those things, right? Access, performance, no need for an IT group, but same problems with trying to collaborate with folks, with broken file references, and no true data management. So for years, the next best step to go through here is put some clothes on. Stop doing naked storage and get into a data management system, SolidWorks PDM being the obvious choice. It solves all the problems we just mentioned, and it's built into the Windows Explorer interface. So this does run on a database, so you get all that fast searching. It uses Microsoft SQL. It's built into Windows Explorer, so you do have those limitations there, but really in the background, the database gives you fast searching, and you already know Windows Explorer, so it's a pretty easy learning curve right there. Don't really need anyone to show it to you. And it's scalable. You can go from standard to pro, all the way up to SolidWorks Managed, which is like a PLM system. But the drawback there is it may be more robust than you need. It actually just does all sorts of stuff with data management that you might not be interested in. Maybe it costs more than you need. Maybe it's just too big of a system and you don't want to manage and update it. So it requires some IT. Now, if you do need a super robust system like this, like SolidWorks PDM, and you don't want to deal with IT and you do want the benefits of cloud, well, MLC can actually help you with that. We host systems on our servers for folks, so you can access them from anywhere. We take care of the upgrades in IT. You get the full data management system, so know that's an option. But if it is too robust for you, you don't want to just store your files on the shared drive or in Dropbox, but you do want some of these benefits, well, why can't we have both? Now you can. That's the fundamentals of storing files in 3DEXPERIENCE. Just store your files there and it solves all those problems, but it does have a data management background that you can use if you want to. So stores your files securely. You control who can access to them and see them, what states and all that. There's no IT. It's always up to date. It's accessible anywhere from a browser. Now, it does cache the files locally when you work on them, but that happens in the background. You don't ever have to mess with Windows Explorer or where the files are or what their extensions are, but you still get the performance as if they're saved right there in your C drive. Of course, it understands file references and lets multiple users work in these same assemblies and work on the same projects at the same time. It does have a robust data management system built into it for Rev A, Rev B, all that good stuff. I would say it's limited as these files do kind of get translated into the database format. So really it's for SolidWorks files, for maybe Microsoft Office files, but not every file type in the world because things need to go through a translator. So if you need more powerful data management, you might go back to looking at SolidWorks PDM, but the product that's here is powered by the proven technology of Innovia, the Dassault Systems brand. So that's how you can move there. So whether you just need the simple storage solution that doesn't have all those problems I talked about and can be accessed from anywhere, or you want to get into some data management, you can have both here with 3DEXPERIENCE. That's the most common reason people are getting into 3DEXPERIENCE and connecting SolidWorks to it. In fact, I want to expand on that a little bit more. I'm going to talk a little bit behind the scenes about what do you mean I could forget about file extensions? What's caching locally? How all does that work? Right? I think when you're in a cloud native app, like an X app, like XDesign or xShape, any of that stuff, you don't worry about file types because you're just in your internet browser. You just drag from one program to another, similar to like you don't care about file types on your phone. So you move from one app to another on your phone. But SolidWorks, of course, is in the Windows operating system. So we have to connect it, right? There is a little bridge called Collaborative Designer for SolidWorks that connects your traditional SolidWorks to 3DEXPERIENCE. And this takes care of all the data translation in the background. You don't have to worry about it at all. But you actually might be doing this already with other file types. In fact, since SolidWorks 2017, SolidWorks has had the ability to take files from other programs and just stick them right in and start working with them and have them update. With 3DEXPERIENCE, we just have both sides of the equation, so it's even better. So I want to give you an example. You might be doing this and not even know that you're doing it right now. You know, if somebody is working in another proprietary CAD program, there's no way to edit the features of that program, right? The only thing that can edit a SolidWorks feature is SolidWorks. And that's the same with any CAD program. So they might be saving to a step file and sending you that. Tell them not to do that. Just send you the native file. I'm going to show you this process with Creo files, so the PTC file here. And what I'm going to do is get a file from someone, open it up in SolidWorks, modify it, stick it into my assembly, stick it into my drawings, and then what happens when they send me a Rev B of that file? How does that update flow in? And this is the same thing that's happening with 3DEXPERIENCE, but a little more seamlessly. Here I'm still in Windows Explorer. I'm simply going to an assembly and opening a PRT file, which is a Creo file type, and popping this in to a SolidWorks assembly. Now it opens up, notice in the tree, it really put the Creo part inside of a SolidWorks part. And there's a little green arrow on that part in the tree. This is a 3D interconnect symbol, and it lets me know there's a link being maintained back to that file that came from some other program. But it doesn't really matter. I can still add SolidWorks features and start modifying this file because it's a nice solid body piece of geometry. Now, when I'm adding these features, I'm adding them into the SolidWorks file. And that's what's cool about the tree structure here. The features I put in, they're not going into the file that was made somewhere else. They're going into the SolidWorks file, which contains both. So we added a keyway here, a slot cut, throwing this thing into an assembly, adding a pin and hole mate, right? And then I could see, well, I added features, I added file references, but the file's actually not the right size. I probably need to go back to the other program and make some serious edits to the original file. Now, in this case, that just means getting another version of the file. You could overwrite the original file. With Creo files, they get a .1, .2 as you get more versions. So simply putting a .2 file in the same folder. If this is another program, you might just overwrite the file. And then in SolidWorks, you'll see a little refresh symbol on that part. When you see the refresh symbol, all you got to do is right-click and hit Update. And those updates from the other program flow right into SolidWorks, and the features in SolidWorks are not broken. It's the same faces and edge IDs. The assembly and drawing references are not broken. All of the updates just flew right into SolidWorks through what's called 3D Interconnect. It is enabled by default inside of SolidWorks, and this is what allows us to take in files from other packages right into SolidWorks, modify them in the other packages, and have that flow right in. That's the beauty of being in a connected system. Now I want to take you to a fully connected system, 3DEXPERIENCE, because we have both sides of the equation. It gets even simpler, but that's basically what's happening in the background. That's the technology we're leveraging. So the second reason folks might come to 3DEXPERIENCE or SolidWorks is to run these cloud native apps. So ones where you can model in the cloud, ways where you can communicate with folks on projects from any device with an internet browser. And the one I want to show you today is called xShape. It's my favorite X app by far because it uses sub-D modeling, a type of modeling that we do not have in SolidWorks, and you can make more ergonomic and curvy type designs. So let's look at that. Here I'm starting with a fully SolidWorks assembly. This is kind of a keypad of a remote control. And the housing of this has to have an ergonomic design, has to have a lot of swoopy shapes, which I could make with SolidWorks surfacing, but I want to use xShape. So step number one is simply save these files into 3DEXPERIENCE. You'll notice I'm not going to Windows Explorer. It's all happening right in the task pane of SolidWorks. Now over in the web interface, I'm going to open those up. Here I'm just choosing to search because The search is instant, it is a database, and then dragging that file right into xShape. Notice in the xShape tree, which looks a lot like a SolidWorks tree, I've got files that say SW. We call that the CAD master. Those are SolidWorks files. The only thing that can modify the original features of those files is SolidWorks, but I can work with them here in these X apps and add new things to them. Now I'm going to move through this pretty quickly, but what I'm doing here is adding a primitive shape that is broken up into subdivisions that I can push or pull to make the ergonomic and swoopy shapes I want without dealing with surfacing features and without ever leaving a watertight, solid piece of geometry that I could pull right into SolidWorks and drill holes in or run simulations on. If this is something you're interested in, I highly recommend you dig a little deeper into our YouTube channel. We've got a few videos out there on xShape and all the other X apps, including a video my colleague Jared Degater recently made called Can X Apps Replace SolidWorks? Yeah, something you might want to check out. Now, xShape, I think, is the coolest one for SolidWorks user because we can work with these primitives, push, pull, combine them, do Boolean operations, but it's very easy to switch from one X app to another, like switching from xShape to XDesign, as I'm doing here, one of the most common ones for a 3DEXPERIENCE or SolidWorks user to have. This is a really primitive, a prismatic type modeling program, just like SolidWorks. So I can add fillets, drill extra holes, even split this body into two bodies because it's going to be molded together. And you'll notice the sketch tools and features we use here are extremely familiar. If you use SolidWorks, you essentially already know how to use this tool. So what does this look like back over in SolidWorks? Well, in that same assembly, I'm simply going to get the latest version of this assembly, and I can see those parts that I brought in. Notice the little green arrow in the tree working the same way as 3D Interconnect worked, but my files that came over from xShape and XDesign are in SolidWorks. I can modify them, run simulations with them, apply new materials to them because they are a solid, workable piece of geometry. So you could do a lot with these cloud tools connected to SolidWorks. One of the coolest ones, I think, is xShape because it provides that sub-D modeling techniques that's simply not available in SolidWorks. But as you see, all these X apps work together, xShape, XDesign, and there's a whole slew of other apps that can be run completely in a web interface without any installation needed. Now, the biggest ones out there do require some local install, like SolidWorks or like the simulation tools that are powered by Abaqus. These come from the brand of Simulia, which is Dassault Systèmes' brand for all of the really high-end simulations and FEA tools that, like xShape, are more powerful than what you get inside of SolidWorks. Let's take a look at one called Structural Mechanics Engineer. This allows us to take our designs straight from SolidWorks up into 3DEXPERIENCE. So step number one is to save them into the platform, but then open them into a natively installed simulation app. This does have a similar tree structure and helpful advisor to walk you through a sim setup, but there's a lot more going on here. As you can see in these material properties, you can go way more in depth than is possible inside of SolidWorks. This is also a nonlinear dynamic type analysis that's being set up, and if you notice the mesh or the finite elements shown in the background on this component, they're different than what's available inside of SolidWorks. You're not just limited to tetrahedral meshing, you can do hexahedral and brick meshing and continuum shell elements, and really sky's the limit. Same with the solving because it's all powered by the powerful Abaqus solver. And while this is installed locally and you could solve on up to 8 cores as much as you want, you can pay for some additional cloud solving power and get up to 144 cores to solve extremely complex and large nonlinear and dynamic problems. So if you were looking for a way to get more powerful simulations done without a disconnected process of saving your file out to a step and sending it to some other program, the tools in 3DEXPERIENCE are the answer. So I hope I've given you an explanation of what's going on behind the scenes and what this cloud platform actually is, and the most common reasons that folks would come to 3DEXPERIENCE, be it cloud storage or data management in order to collaborate with a team that's in multiple locations, to use some of the apps that run 100% in the web, like the X apps or the communication and organization tools, or to access more powerful simulation tools powered by Abaqus. And don't forget, the sole role of MLC is to help you find the right tool for the job and to be successful with it. So please let us know how we can help.